liberation just have vastly different understandings of what liberation is for.
I haven't seen this much importance and attention.
The story itself is a really wonderful, really great setup.
Tractor beam has been engaged.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Tractor Beam Comics Reviews, your one-stop shop for in-depth commentary and discussion on the Star Wars books that came out today. It is Wednesday, November 15th, 2024, and if I'm counting right, it's the 45th week of comics in 2024. Yeah, I counted all the way up to 45, and then 46, and it's going all the way to 52, and then I'm going to be able to say something different. So, yeah, rolling right along. Good to be back. After taking a week off last week. Yeah, I'm Matthew. He's Chris. How you doing there, Chris?
I'm doing great. It's good to be back. I got Andor on the brain between the release date and this wonderful book here that I'm reading a little bit early thanks to Comic-Con.
Yeah. There we go.
How did I get this? I don't.
Yeah. Right on. Yeah. And what you've told me about that book, it's good things. I need to actually get into it. I was able to get a copy near Comic-Con too. So yeah, I gotta dive into that. I'm reading Avengers by Jeb McKay. So I'm catching up on that, and so then I'll be able to come back to Star Wars eventually. But you know, it's Wednesday. Wednesdays are for comics. Comics are for Wednesdays. And so we got Star Wars comics coming up and an insider short story. But first, let's get the quick plugs out of the way. You can follow me or follow us. Sorry, on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads. Twitter for now. At Ion Cannon Pod, EYEONCANONPOD. Of course, you can follow Chris on Twitter and on YouTube at Starraptor, STARRAPTER, youtube.com/Starraptor. We'll pick up the rest of the plugs on the way, but we got lots of other things in the pipe, in the can, different shows and whatnot. So yeah, stay tuned at the end for those kinds of plugs. I think we should just dive right in.
I think so.
Before, I just want to say we are proudly I kind of keep forgetting to this. We are proudly part of the Star Wars Underworld podcast network. I see this thing here, flag here, and that includes the Star Wars Underworld Discord server where we're on there chatting away. And if you're in here and you see the link in the description below, check that out, and then go in there and ask Joel, my podcast partner on Ion Cannon, what his favorite place to eat in Southern California is, and he will gladly answer you, or just go in there, say hi, tell us what comic book you like, things like that, what your favorite Star Wars comic book is. We'll be happy to respond if you tag us there as well. So yeah, check that out. I think they're doing another movie night, or they're doing a games night this Friday. So yeah, so it's a good time, it's a fun time, fun place. So yeah, if you're looking for fun hangouts online, check out the Discord server, among other things around the network. Okay, now let's dive in. Let's get into this. Rolling right along. Just picking this book up from last week, the week when we took a break. But this is Battle of Jakku, Insurgency Rising #4, coming at a fast clip. It's written by Alex Segura, art by Luke Ross and Jethro Morales. Colors. Sorry, I'm all mixed up here. Colors by Rochelle Rosenberg. Direct edition cover by Phil Noto, and I got the variant by Alan Qua. Do you have the direct edition there, Andy? Or?
Yeah, give me one moment because it's in. Oh wait, it's right.
There we go. I got it handy, just so we can see. Give Phil Noto love. This is the last book in the Battle of Jakku that he's doing the cover for. So there we go.
Yeah, what a cover this is. Yeah. Now there's something to point out.
Yes.
Who the heck is this character? We don't see this character at all.
I don't know. I can't tell.
Right, seriously, like this is like one of those aliens that's from. She almost looks like a Sith pureblood. Like she's got the tendrils that come out. She's got like the sharp ears. It almost looks like Sura Linda from the Poe Dameron series, right? It's like,
yeah. Oh yeah, it's true. It's true. I have no idea.
I don't know if like last minute that made it. Maybe she was a character designed for real or pretty.
Yeah.
And like last minute, they're like, no, we're gonna make her human instead, and they just never changed the cover. That would be my guess, because
who knows?
I don't know.
We're waiting to find out. Well, we could ask Phil if we ever meet him in person. Anyway, Luke versus a new Inquisitor. The Imperial survivors consolidate behind the defiant Imperial, putting the just formed New Republic at risk. Kes Dameron and his team try for a daring escape, but meet an unexpected hurdle. Galactic Civil War takes a startling twist, and bad omens arise for the future of the New Republic. So this one, I read it. It came out on last Wednesday. I read it. Finally was able to get to it on Saturday, I believe. And then just last night, I skimmed through and I read the third act, and I used the word third act intentionally because this book was incredibly cinematic.
Yeah,
it started with the moment where Luke goes to confront Adelhard on that bridge, and Adelhard's just standing there alone, fully confident, fully in control, and Luke comes in, and it's the kind of power move you could see someone like Gideon or Thrawn, or even Palpatine and Vader doing something like that, where call them in alone, just did this one-on-one, and then of course it's an ambush where the stormtroopers come out. I mean, that's literally Last Jedi Phasma with Finn and Rose and DJ on the ship there. So yeah, and so really great job by Alex Segura, by Luke Ross, Jethro Miles, Michelle Rosenberg, to really capture that feel of that pacing, and then of course launching into this fight and this daring escape by the crew. And this again, I mean, everything even before that with the reveal of the Inquisitor, and I could see that coming a little bit, that the Acolyte of the Beyond was blanking on her name, of course, but was the Inquisitor. But what was really surprising, is surprising, was really engaging, engrossing, was the very end with Adelhard, and Luke saying, I've seen who he really is. He feels like something is being taken from him. He's far more dangerous and formidable, and Luke naming that helps us feel like he's far more dangerous and formidable, and points to how he really is actually building this coalition, building this this power base in the Anoat sector, making him a serious villain. And it gets ratcheted up to 11, where he's talking to some boy, we don't know who, at the end there, but saying he's going to actually embrace the dark side, embrace the Force, embrace this mystical gobbly-gooply power. And of course the Acolytes of the Beyond are going to be happy about that, hopefully. But to say that he's just, I mean, that's kind of this function. It really underscores the function of this whole Insurgency Rising arc. Maybe the Insurgency Rising is Adelhard saying, I'm gonna have this power base again in the Anoat sector become a real threat to this new Republic. And we see these New Republic troops and forces coalescing, characters we've known from the ongoing comic. But again, I think at the end of the day, Adelhard really, on this cliffhanger ending, becomes the star, not the protagonist, but a good, really solid, well-written villain, which, and credit to Alex Segura for pulling that off, because that's not easy to get a villain that we enjoy reading about. And Adelhard, he's gotten there already. So in issue number 4, so really fantastic first act to this 12 act, or 3 act, but first act issue to this 12 issue run. And we don't have long at all to wait. So that's those are my thoughts. What'd you got for Insurgency Rising number 4?
Yeah, well, this is really interesting. So just to get this out of the way real quick, I held up the Reign of the Empire Mask of Fear novel, which is essentially the transition of power from the Republic to the Empire, dealing with the fallout of the separatist political aspect of things. And then now we're literally looking at the opposite end. Like, the Empire are the underdogs, the Republic is rising and it's starting to take form. So I just wanted to point that out. It's just like, I'm reading both opposite ends of Star Wars right now, which is quite interesting. But as far as this story, yeah, I think he put it really well. This is super cinematic, super epic. Anytime that we have like 3 separate storylines going on, it goes back to Return of the Jedi, goes back to Phantom Menace. You have a little bit of a rebellion going on a Star Destroyer with non-Force users just beating the heck out of Stormtroopers, while you have Luke Skywalker just doing this awesome conflict with the Adelhard and his troopers there. Then you also have the space battle, which we didn't see enough of because I really liked what I seen. But the idea of like, oh yeah, Lando's leading a charge of these Republic soldiers in his Lady Luck, like the first appearance of that in canon. Nice. On screen, not on screen, but like on the page, because we've gotten that. I think he had that in Shadow of the Sith by Adam Christopher. I believe he had that ship that was name dropped there. But to see it in all of its glory, since for me as a person that grew up playing the heck out of Jedi Knight 2, Jedi Outcast, I played the heck out of that mission when Luke was there and Kyle Katarn was going to find Lando and Lady Luck was parked on Nar Shaddaa, and this is really cool stuff there. So awesome stuff. Luke Skywalker has some of the best lines I've ever heard him say, like, that blade doesn't belong here and all that kind of stuff. Like Luke is such a badass at that point. Like he's taking down the Emperor, he's taking down Vader, and this Lady Obscura person seriously thinks that she could stand up to like the Jedi Knight that took down Vader and Palpatine. Like I like how he just puts her in his place about, oh yeah, you can hold a lightsaber, but you don't know how to wield a lightsaber. And he just disarms her in like one panel and then just defeats her. And you got to wonder what's going on with her and Commander Bragg, because they've both been taken prisoner. So it's quite interesting there. I mean, yeah, there's a lot to break down in this issue, but I will say I really enjoyed the climactic finality of it all.
Yeah, just seeing Wikipedia doing the Force's work. Fandom, again, thank you for that party at New York Comic Con. Appearances of Lady Luck. So this is the first pictured appearance of it in canon. This is in canon. The first appearance in canon is Last Shot.
Cool.
And then you're right, Shadow of the Sith. It shows up, and then the Rise of Skywalker novelization, it's mentioned. So, yeah, this is the first time we see it in canon. So which is important, which is significant.
Very much so.
Say that he has it kind of part of Lando's character. I mean, from what I understand, I don't know, but from what I gather, it being kind of part of his character as separate from the Falcon and separate from L3 in canon. You can consider that. Of course, Han has the Falcon now, right? But yeah, for Lando to connect to a ship other than the Falcon, it'll be interesting for me to see, because I haven't seen that. I'm not a Legends guy, so that go back to thought about of Oscur. Yeah, it's it's interesting. Again, Luke, like you're saying, Luke is easily able to neutralize her. I think they capture, and the Republic captures her and Brog. Again, this also feeds Adelhard's character by way of contrast, right? She's the acolyte who's trying to encourage him to embrace these things, but isn't totally capable. Is there a bit of a kind of a Darth Edgelord kind of wannabe Sith, wannabe Darksider thing going on, or are the acolytes, are they more realistic than that, more humble than that? That seemed to be my understanding from what I remember from the Aftermath trilogy, is that they understand that they're not Sith lords. Maybe she is. I mean, by channeling this other tradition of the Inquisitors, which is an interesting mix, right? We haven't seen that. By this time, the Inquisitorius had already been kind of dismantled. We don't really see them in Greg Pak's comic. Well, we don't see them at all. They're kind of useless at this point. And yet here she is channeling that with a red lightsaber, and also being an acolyte of the Beyond. Again, there was always this sense of these second order Darksiders and here's Luke is a First Order Jedi. And I know we don't want to have a video game of that thing, but to say almost they're yeah, it is this arrogant move, but also what's she gonna do? She's there. She's got to try and do something, I guess. But all that to say, bring back to my main point, the contrast then with even just the potential of what Adelhard could do and be, because he has he's going to embrace the mysticism like the acolytes. He clearly has this tactical know-how and formidable know-how and this experience. He is a Moff. He's held on to the Anoat sector despite the Empire falling away and leave him alone. As we'll see in the next book, he's trying to shore up resources. Sorry. Yeah, and so again, there's that, but so the combination of actual military prowess and embracing the dark side, that's gonna be again, really, really gripping and engaging and pose a real challenge to Luke. I think that's what we thought was Luke and the Acolytes of the Beyond. No, it's really Luke and Adelhard, and that's why in the description I said round one. This is Luke and Adelhard round one. Let's see where this goes. Probably this is now I'm predicting here. Probably the climax is on Jakku and something key about something on Jakku, or I don't know, unless Luke is occupied in the Anoat sector. Although Jakku's not in the Anoat sector at all. I don't think so. But maybe the climax there is on Jakku. You can see where all this converges. So but Luke versus Ulbrik for some key strategic reason too, but also for Luke growing in character. Part of the move to say I gotta start this Proxium, gotta actually get organized. Almost inspired by the way Adelhard is organized. I don't know, but that's the kinds of things. That's, again, this potential importance for this character that came from a mobile game that some people played. So there we go again. Alex Segura spinning this out. Good job. Any last things before we move on?
Yeah, I will say that it's nice to get a look back now on these 4 issues while we're at it, because I really do think that Alex and team pulled it off. I mean, I hope that there is enough of a want for this sort of storytelling in Star Wars, and I hope that a lot of people pick this up and say their praises about it, because I would like to see Marvel kind of stick with this formula, like 4 issues that are impactful, that are epic. There's no kind of wasted space in any of these issues. They all push the story forward. And it's a story I've wanted for almost 10 years now. Like, give us these Luke Skywalker stories. We've seen so much Luke in these 4 issues that it's been fantastic, whether it be these quieter scenes of him and Real talking about, different aspects of the Force and just being good humans versus him just being a badass taking on stormtroopers. Like, we got a lot of Luke out of these.
Yeah, that's true. Again, it remains to be seen how Alex finishes this book. We know finishing a story is harder than starting one, but he's set up a lot. I mean, finishing a story well depends on how well you start it, and in large part, right? If you've plotted out, remember Brian Young writing about this, that if you've plotted out, if you really set things up at the beginning in the first act, that can then culminate. Like, I'm already imagining this climax, this epic climax between Luke and Ulbrik on Jakku, round 3 or whatever round it is. That's gonna it's built in. So I agree. I mean, the formula, obviously adapt it to whatever plot. I think of Mark Guggenheim's book is going to be, it's similarly broken up into almost these one shots or whatnot, but there's going to be the Qui-Gon through line there. So what's good is it's a kind of playing with the formula, right? It's usually the 6 arcs, six book arc, six book arc. Here's a 4-book arc that is part of a 12-book story. And, again, that fits with Act 1 of this. I guess the weird thing is Republic Under Siege, that's only 2 issues, right?
What?
No, it's gonna be 4 issues.
Yeah.
Why did I think it was 2 issues? Because I only know when the 2 issues are. Brandon's going weird. But that's another thing. It's a little different than film. The second act is usually a lot longer. So this is going to be more equal, but beginning, middle, and end. There we go. I guess with comics, it makes sense. Of the 4 issues. All right. Any last thoughts?
I'm looking forward to seeing Aphra in action, hopefully next issue. I think we're going to get a nice cliffhanger of Republic Siege #1. I think because issue 2 has her on a cover. So that means that Luke will probably bump into her, and that'll be our cliffhanger at the end, is like him meeting with Aphra to go find some answer to some question he has about the Force or something.
Yeah,
that'd be cool.
Oh my goodness. Now I'm really excited for that. I think
Next week?
That. I think it might be in 2 weeks. Or 3 weeks. Republic Under Siege #1 is next week. Yeah. So which we'll get to again. Yeah. Chelly. Let's see what she's up to. Chelly with the rebellion with the Republic. See how she does there. All right, moving right along in the same timeline, and that's the thing, still connected to the Adelhard story, is Ewoks #2, written by Steve Orlando, art by Alvaro Lopez and Laura Braga, colors by Antonio Fabella, and you see that cover there by Pete Woods, a pretty cool dynamic cover. The battle on Endor continues. Bounty hunters 4LOM and Zuckuss invade Bright Tree Village. Will Wicket and Ewok warrior Meedro be able to defend the village? And who is the Red Ghost? So I'll throw this one to you, Chris. What do you think of Ewoks #2?
Well, I had a lot. I wouldn't say context, but I've been exploring the Ewok movies recently, the ones that released on television in the 80s, I believe. So I literally just finished the first one 2 nights ago. So jumping into this, I was like, wow, this feels like such an extension of that, because the first issue had complete callbacks to certain creatures and whatnot from that first movie, Caravan of Courage. So I was already in the mindset of going into this issue, reading this issue today, of like, okay, I'm on Ewok brain right now. I'm going in hot and heavy for Ewoks right now. That made it come out a little bit wrong, but
I know what you mean. You were excited.
I was excited to read this book. How about that? And it delivered. It really delivered. I liked how we have this stupid Imperial. I can't put him any other way. Stupid jerk off Imperial General. What is his name now? Forget his name. Something with Koyata. General Koyata has been tasked by General Adelhard or Moff Adelhard to go get this information, go get these weapons from this base that's left on Endor. And the idea is he's got this ragtag team of people he's trying to wrangle up to do his bidding. It's like you got these 2 bounty hunters, Zuckuss and 4LM, and 4LM is trying to pretend that he is the emissary of the so-called adversary, which is like the devil, according to the Ewoks. Like that's their lores. Like he's like the devil. So they're trying to do that. Meanwhile, you have this Red Ghost Ewok that just causes mayhem in the middle of these like peace negotiations, causing absolute chaos to erupt. And it's just like carnage everywhere. A caravan of carnage happening right now. And it's cool. I really liked how we got this dialogue that is going on throughout, fleshing out, the Golden One versus the adversary, like the religious notions and culture of the Ewoks as things are going on. But then you also have this other guy named Cole, who is this Duatin, who has a protocol droid strapped to his chest as translating things, and he is not wanting to fight. He's like, I've been around for centuries. I'm tired of killing. I don't want to kill these little furry creatures. And then the general's yelling out. It was a lot of fun, to put it simply. And I think it leaves off on a point that blew my mind quite literally when we seen Ewok speak basic. And not just any Ewok, it's Wicket. And I'm like, wait, that's never happened before. What the heck? And then that's the cause of taking him as a hostage. Is like, oh, you're Wicket. Okay, I'm gonna take you as a hostage and bring you to the tour. It's like, okay. So it left off on, oh my gosh, our favorite buddy here of the Ewoks is now hostage. Yeah. What's going on? We got revelations here. We got revelations of the red ghost being none other than the other child of Chief Chirpa. And by the way, I mentioned last time we talked about this book, I got what I wanted. I got Princess Nissa of Bright Tree Village officially acknowledged in canon. So I believe she was already in canon, but for Marvel, it's like the first time we get to see her other than like a Star Wars Adventures book. So I was happy about that. But yeah, I really like this. This is such a good time. It's such a good comic book. And the artwork, oh my goodness, the artwork is so fantastic because it can't be easy to create art for furry things. I have a hard time painting Ewoks. I can only imagine drawing them from scratch with the fur and the life in their eyes and everything. It's just like, it's really good. I enjoyed it. What'd you think about it?
Yeah, well, just drawing them as acting, as if their performance, if you know what I mean, like the actual emotions, the action. I mean, I guess it's kind of a way of appropriately saying, okay, watching Return of the Jedi and saying, how do dogs light up and what their faces do and whatnot. But at some point, these are sentient creatures. Yeah, one of them, Wicket, speaking basic, and being taken hostage. That was a wild moment. You're right. I'm wondering if Leia's going to catch wind of that and they want to help out there. Yeah, the most interesting part for me, naturally, was the beginning with 4LM. I'm gonna bring this up here. This whole thing, well, maybe not so much. I mean, what I found the most interesting part of this was, I can bring it up a little bit. I found the most interesting part of this was that that general, what's his face?
Koyata?
He thinks they're being naive. He thinks they're being just primitives with their superstitions. And what's fascinating is they have these beliefs about the Golden One and the adversary, but they're still being shrewd about it. They're still being prudent. Chirpa, he really takes time to calculate things until his daughter comes and screws it up. I'm saying, but I mean, seemed like that felt inevitable, the confrontation. Anyways, I mean, it's the Imperials, but this was what's so great about how it's in Ewokese or whatever the language is, but it's like the text is in English in basic, so we can actually see them debate this, see them deliberate. These are obviously Imperials, but what do we do? Do we fight them? Do we risk them retaliating? Do we have the forces? What's the strategy anyways? And I thought that was kind of this affirming thing of hey guys, religious people aren't all nut jobs. Just put it but also even then it was this interesting thing of 4LM saying I'm an emissary of the adversary. And there's even seems like a sense of in Ewok mysticism, Ewok belief, the adversary isn't necessarily almost an opponent of the Golden One. So traditionally, in the Hebrew Bible, the adversary, the Satan, is just an office in kind of this divine court, and that's a whole other thing to unpack. But I wonder if that's part of the fact that just a function in kind of it was kind of a legal like the district attorney kind of thing. Actually the accuser, someone who's being accused of a sin, and the adversary comes in and says, hey, this person did this thing, what's the judgment? And then of course the Golden One would be the judge maybe. But I wonder if even that for Chirpa is a way of saying, okay, this isn't necessarily an enemy, this is just someone with a function, and then able to spin that out and say, or carry that through and say, okay, well, yeah, yes, yeah, there are Imperials. We know it's a droid. We're not that's stupid, but let's roll with it for a little bit. And yeah, that was the most interesting part to me. And then the Dewooten saying, pulling back and having a change of mind. I think his heart was never in causing harm to these guys, these Ewoks, but having this change of mind that's somewhat decisive, obviously not ultimately, because it ends on this awesome cliffhanger of Wicket having agency, having action yet again. I mean, in Return of the Jedi, which is not that long before this, we know the agency he has in that story. So, it was really brought the story along, held the story. Wicket and Meedro, especially their dialogue, really holding the story through, and so that was well written there. And then just to hear all see the what's the shaman, forget his name, and and the princess and all these characters that maybe you've seen in Caravan of Courage. I haven't really, but actually to meet them and get to know them and get them filled that out. Interestingly, so Caravan of Courage.
Tebow.
The Caravan of Courage issue number 1 is called Caravan of Carnage. And so there was a good reference there. So, and those are my thoughts on Ewoks. Have any last thoughts? Anything else to say?
Yeah, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there as far as seeing like all these minor Ewok characters. I was going to mention I like the one page or so where it was just like all these Ewoks in the background that were like chiming in like their thoughts on the matter, like they're trying to give their valuable 2 cents on, okay, don't let them in, this is why I think they should be let in, and you could see like, okay, Chirpa was really thinking about it. So thinking about for the people, I'm very curious now going ahead, seeing why was Asha the Red Ghost estranged from the Ewoks of Bright Tree Village? Like what happened there? What are her motives? What's going on there? I hope that gets explored.
Yeah, I mean, she seems like a very solitary, independent character,
which is basically what the other Ewok was, Meebo or whatever his name is.
Meedro? Yeah, I actually kind of got confused by the two of them a little bit, but yeah, Meedro seems even more. Yeah, seems also. Yeah, you're right. So, she definitely seems this maverick and this legend who's been haunting the forest, and to say, oh yeah, it's interesting. There was an interesting reveal. Was she in issue number 1? I'm trying to remember. I guess
she was spying on the Imperials,
right,
in the trees there.
So, to say she has this loyalty. Yeah, it is interesting. You're right that she has this loyalty to her family, but there's a reason why she feels the need to express that loyalty by saying, by not being attached to them, not having that attachment to them that maybe can cramp her style or limit what she's able to do. Because we don't think of I guess we think of them as murder bears, but we also think of them as kind of cute and cuddly and wizened and imbued in tradition. But yeah, maybe there is this tradition of the rogue, the maverick, who really wants to be the hermit almost, but more like a way seeker in the High Republic, right? Someone who feels the need to be on their own and free to do what they need to do. And so it's interesting. There's a reason. There got to be a reason for that. Maybe she was in line and being raised to be the next chief, and she said, "No, forget that. I don't want that." Who knows? But I'm guessing. I'm guessing Steve Orlando knows, and he'll probably tell us. So, whether that. All right. Before we move on, any final thoughts on Ewoks number 2?
Nope. I'm ready to move on.
All right. So we are going way back in time. Speaking of the High Republic, we're going all the way back to the Phase 3 story, Chronicles of Corellia Cracking the Mask. It was written by Alyssa Wong. It's in Insider number 228. And this one, it was great. It was long. It was great.
Yeah.
It really, the one thing I really thought of was Rue and his character and his master, his master, Jedi master. That really functioned. Seemed to feel like Cal and Jar Paul. These kinds of lessons from the past. Now that Rue is on his own and really not part of the Jedi. Of course, with Cal, the Jedi are no more, so it's easy there. But or an easily understandable reason there. That Rue, having that tether to the past, tether to the light, and yet really being ruthless and embracing the dark side. And I don't know if I'm embracing the dark side, but very, very much playing with the dark side, and yet reluctantly. And that whole he's debating with Crash. He doesn't want to go on this mission because he knows the kind of violence he'll have to do. And that was just this fascinating, really went deep into Rue's character and appreciated that. And at the same time going into Driggit's character and how she's got these loyalties, especially to Valo and to Gavi. And yet it's again another parallel here. I'm not saying these are bad. These are just why it feels really grounded in Star Wars. To Draven or not Draven. Yeah. What's the guy in Endor? I'm like the main big spy in Endor.
Skull and Skarsgård's character.
Yeah. Why am I blanking on his name? The guy who has that big speech. Anyway, why am I blanking on his name?
I'm blanking on his name too.
Weird. Like Dom and I were just watching that episode. Anyway, but the whole thing of I want to save everything I love and care about, everyone I love and care about, but to do that, I have to actually lose my soul. I actually have to sacrifice myself in a way, my moral center, and go and join the Nihil. And ultimately, there's this handoff of these plans for this phase 2 era ship, like this thing with piercing. With the cones, like this thing was banned after the Battle of Irem or the Forever War. It was too brutal. The ship that can basically impale another ship.
Yep.
And the Nihil are trying to develop the Warden here. He's trying to develop this, and Driggit's able to pass along these plans that are going to sabotage it. And that was clever. Also another kind of Rogue One, kind of Galen or so type of thing. But for these characters and this situation, and where was I going to go with this? Yeah, it really fits so wonderfully well. I'm glad we're talking about this on this show because it fits so wonderfully well with the comics. Fits so wonderfully well with both the High Republic Adventures, DJOs, and Crash Landing. And of course, now it sets up Alyssa Wong's own Dispatches from the Inclusion Zone story that's going to be Driggit and Rue, probably about these plans, probably about something. And there's this fascinating parallel between the two. I'm just realizing this, right? They've both kind of sacrificed kind of the moral choices they hold dear, except I will say Rue at the end decides to save Frander as opposed to friends. And so there's already a turn back. Another difference, of course, is no, not a difference. They're also both helping the light side of the folks we kind of cheer for. At least Driggit, she's trying to get revenge on what happened with Valo. She'll probably would want to go back to the Jedi, go back to Gavi at least. And Rue, we know he's with Crash in Crash's crew, and of course Crash is helping the Jedi in Ariadu. So this thing that we think Driggit and we think Rue's kind of shady morally. We think Driggit is part of the Nihil, but she's got her own agenda, and that agenda will hopefully one day line up back with Gavi and everyone else. So yeah, to have this plopped in the middle, I think this is the last one. We're going back to probably back to the Adrins next month or next issue. So really pushes that story, that corner of the story forward with the Warden, with Ariadu and with Valo, that whole younger reader's story in this sort of more adult, I guess, short story. Everything, High Republic, everything's coming together. Everything's coming together so well. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Chronicles of Corellia, Cracking the Mask. What did you think of this one?
Yeah, this really swung pretty hard for an insider short story, I gotta say. Alyssa Wong really put some time and work into this one, because we're getting to see big evolutions for characters in this for sure. Like you said before, like with Rue, change a character, like, oh my gosh, he's actually saving somebody, or they're actually saving somebody. Then you have the character of Driggit, who we know where her loyalties lie now. She's essentially a double agent. She went and met with the Tarkin girl, who we had seen the previous issue of Star Wars The High Republic Adventures. So that's all getting tied together.
Right.
But as you mentioned too, like we're getting pretty good insight into Rue as far as the flashbacks with the Master, with the lightsaber, using that as a tool rather than a weapon. So I like how like the lessons were spread throughout this of just, it's not a tool of violence. Like lightsabers are meant to safeguard peace and justice and not be used for cruelty. That the fact that they brought in the eviscerators from phase 2, awesome stuff. They're really tying things in towards the latter half of this entire initiative. Everything with Driggit and Gavi, and we've been seeing more of that. The previous issue of High Republic Adventures, we're getting Gavi and Driggit is mentioned, right? There's a lot of stuff that is really getting tied in. The fact that the Star Hopper, which is our first ship we've seen in phase 1 of the High Republic, that has been retrofitted for the Warden for the Nile. So that is so funny when they're flying this. Well, actually, now I'm getting confused. Now I'm realizing I'm talking about the High Republic Adventures when the pirates with Ram were like, we gotta take our ship back. Yeah. They're trying to, the funniest part of the previous issue was when they're on there with Zine Kyle or whatever the Zabrik's name is. Yeah. And the Nile was all like, hey, let's go ahead and we're gonna board you. And they're like, wait, we're pirates, we're boarding you. Ship back. But I digress. That was one of the better things. But like also introducing the dynamics of warring Nile factions. The fact that Driggit was tasked by the Warden to go to this other faction and take the plan. So there's already cracks in the armor that is the enemy according to Republic. So are they going to expose this kind of weakness in the fabric of the Nile's powers and try to capitalize on that? Like as you said, this was, I think by my count, this is the largest, the longest story in Insider so far. So this was dense, but it was awesome to get a chance in one sitting to just read the story from beginning to end, where it did really push the story pretty far forward. I would imagine. I would say.
Yeah, both this one and the one with Crix last time, really, really rich, really deep. I mean, grown-up stories of these young adult characters. Yeah. Interesting. You mentioned Cracking the Mask, right? That's the name of the title. Yeah, to see this is the first real kind of factionalization. I mean, we see it a little bit with we see there's always these rivalries with Staros, Gira Staros, and oh goodness, the general, what's her name? General Vice. You know, the three different, and Bulan, of course, and it seems like, you know, the three of them are almost more formidable now that Markian is just off exploring the Blight and trying to make a treaty or somehow treaty with the Republic or something. Bulan, I think, if this is what I get from Tears of the Nameless and Echoes of Fear. Bulan seems to be the most formidable. So yeah, the foundations are cracking. The Jedi, the Republic will be wise to exploit that. You know, the Star Hopper, of course, is the ship, right? That Yoda is taking all these kids around, right? In High Republic Adventures from phase 1. I believe that's right. And so they know that ship. They might know its weaknesses. They might be able to be inspired to retake it too. Kind of like how the Lorna D is the Ataraxia. It's carrying that theme forward, but also in a similar way. Then the Jedi want to retake the Ataraxia, and they end up taking it, retaking it. So again, these patterns coming out again, not bad, just interesting to note them in different contexts with different combinations of characters. Again, great work. Chronicles of Corellia, both of those really moving things forward. But I'm also looking forward to getting back to the Adreds, keeping up with them. Still Ariadu, still around the area. But how's Pika and her bun in the oven?
Yeah, right. We got that whole thing happening.
and that medic, not medic. Yeah, he's not a medic. He's the engineer. The RDC engineer, and how he's doing with his colonel or captain or whatever her name is. So, yeah, that'll be looking forward to that. But again, glad we got these 2 issues. Any last thoughts on this one?
Yeah, no, these are 2 great stories that pinpoint Corellia as well.
Sure.
It's worth noting that it's such an important planet. I love how High Republic really shined a light. We've seen a lot of this, obviously, in Solo. We've seen a lot of this in Resistance Reborn with Wedge Antilles, with Tem and Wexley over there.
Right, that's on Corellia. Yeah, it's been a while since I read that one.
Yeah, the First Order, they were dealing with holding power there. And now the High Republic is such a large part of that story as well. So it's great to see such a strong Legends planet up until recently really get its due. So good stuff there, yeah.
Even a bit on Ahsoka, right? With Hera.
Oh yeah, how could I forget? Yeah, that's the live action, version. Yeah.
So I mean, everything, especially with Crash. I mean, she's turned into quite the character as well. Quite the leader. We see her leading in this kind of push and pull with Rue, saying, I don't want to do this, but this is the best shot we have for getting Frander. And I guess, maybe the interest with Frander is, I don't quite know, maybe wants to build this, or at least to prevent the Nihil from having this eviscerator. That's true. But I guess it's Corellia, the shipbuilders. They're tasked with protecting them too. So, and making sure they're on their side, I guess, or making sure Frander's on their side. So good. On that note, speaking of Alyssa Wong, so this is a bit of a Star Wars adjacent thing. There should start first run of Psylocke came out. If you're interested in Psylocke's a mutant, I think, right?
Oh yeah, Psylocke is an X-Men.
Yeah.
I should probably pick that up. I've always been interested in the character of Psylocke, and to my knowledge, I think this is the first solo series she's ever had.
Yeah. So this is Captain Marvel one was pretty good, ended kind of quick, but good to see what they're up to now, other than Star Wars. So check that out. Again, I've been reading Jed McKay, Halifax, Nova Scotia's Jed McKay's Avengers.
Wow.
That one's fantastic because Carol Danvers is the leader of the Avengers in that. So enjoying that Go McCarrickle rep. But that about does it. Anything else we want to talk about? I guess you want to talk about, you had a thought about the the Kimberg / Wade Chinoy news, the screen news. If you want to get into that.
Well, we're almost there on the same thought process. I was actually going to spawn off those thoughts to talk about the artwork we've seen today that the fine folks at the Splash page shared on their Facebook page.
Yeah. That's kind of related, but go for it.
All right. So we got images by this creator. I do not have it at my fingertips, so sorry if I'm blanking on this person, the artist's name, but he's a pretty prolific artist that is going to be doing a Star Wars. And there are images of Poe Dameron's X-Wing as well as the Millennium Falcon, I think, in the same shot. Yeah. And it's obviously Poe Dameron's X-Wing. So, and he says, it's not been officially announced. This artist, this series has not been officially announced.
Gordon Murphy.
Okay. Excellent. So I approve of the art. It looks great. Yeah. I'm putting 2 to 2 together. I think that this could be a companion piece to the ongoing Kylo Ren story that we're going to get. Mm-hmm. And because the only time we're going to see a Poe Dameron X-Wing with a Millennium Falcon is after Last Jedi.
Right.
So why not start building out that era? Because we haven't really seen much to begin with, other than I mentioned before, Resistance Reborn by Rebecca Roanhouse that was out there. But there's a whole year gap. And we know what Lucasfilm can do with a whole year gap. They can spend 4 years in there building out stories as they did.
With a whole year gap, right?
It's a whole year gap. It took 4 years our time to get through it.
That's true. There's that. Yeah.
And now there's all this hubbub about Daisy Ridley perhaps being the focal point of several movies going forward, as being almost like the mentor Obi-Wan character that's going to give the legacy, these new characters, like the advice and the knowledge and the comfort and all that they need. So we know how these things work at Lucasfilm. Like, they're going to try to, maybe if they would start to do more with Rey, keep her in the center spotlight, maybe have a Rey, Poe, Finn series, Marvel comic going on for a couple of years, while we are waiting on bated breath for the release of a inevitable movie with her, because we know
or 4 inevitable movies.
Yeah, it could be, because we got the standalone, then this trilogy with Simon Kinberg, which is going to be interesting. So there's a lot going on in the pipe. So it would make sense that Lucasfilm would be priming up their sequel trilogy content in the lead up to all of this future content that comes basically to come out like after this Mandoverse saga concludes. That's going to be where it looks like the attention is going to go to. So,
yeah, I mean, that does even make sense of Ethan Sachs' comment, which I initially saw that image and thought, oh yeah, that's Ethan Sachs' comment. Then in the splash page, you guys pointed out, no, the Falcon would be later and all. Unless that is the Ethan Sachs comic and they're using flashbacks and the framing device is possible. But I think what you're getting at, it might be more likely. That being said, they'll have to have a light touch about it, because as we know, they aren't going to give anyone any kind of story details about these films. They probably don't have story details or much in the way of story details yet. And so, the whole, that's the thing. You bring up Resistance Reborn. Again, that book comes out before Rise of Skywalker, and Rise of Skywalker, of course, has nothing to do with Resistance Reborn whatsoever. J.J. Abrams doesn't know the book exists, and that's fine. I'm used to that now. But I have to use that. But what Lucasfilm is now used to then is saying, okay, we're going to reserve any kind of real major impactful storytelling to the films, or at least storytelling before when these films are set, to the films themselves, maybe as backstory or even the beginning of the film, or we're going to wait till after those films come out, right? That's
here's
why we're getting these now, because the sequel trilogy is already done.
Yes.
Why we're getting this whole Battle of Jakku, in part because we've seen Luke in the Mandoverse. We've seen where he ends up in the sequel trilogy. We already know the broad strokes of this contrast between the Luke who's building the Jedi Temple and saving Grogu from the Star Destroyer, and the Luke on Ahch-To saying it's time for the Jedi to end. And so now storytellers can fill out the space. Again, I do get what you're saying, and I think that makes sense in the whole priming the pump and getting us in the mindset of it, getting us back into the sequel trilogy, because we've been away from it for a little bit.
Oh yeah.
And so, getting us back into it, with Charles's book, like you said, and whatever this is, and Ethan's book too, then whatever this other book is. But yeah, they're gonna have to be careful, just what if any kind of impactful storytelling happens.
Yeah, they're between two movies, so I'm not too worried about it, because the furthest I can go is like, all right, this is where Rey did The Last Jedi. This is where she ends up at Rise of Skywalker. We can't develop her character past Rise of Skywalker. We got to play in these fields. So it's just gonna, I don't know what to expect if that were the case, but to bring back maybe other side characters like Black Squadron in and stuff like that would be really fun to see.
Yeah, it's set between the Right. So Legacy of Vader is set between those two events. Yeah, that's true. We already know what happens in Rise of Skywalker. So yeah, there's that year. Maybe that's really the major focus, like you're saying. Maybe this is what you're saying. Like how the major focus was between Empire and Return of the Jedi. Okay, I get what you're getting at now. So yeah, and then you're right. There is storytelling room to get in there. Yeah, okay. I first of all, I catch what you're saying and I agree with it. Makes sense. I want my prequel stories. I'm getting them with Mark Guggenheim, but
Yeah.
Again, I'm also really excited for this Legacy of Vader book. That's gonna be Charles writing about Kylo Ren and Darth Vader. What more can you want? So.
Dude, we're getting Reign of the Empire and we're getting Legacy of Vader all in February. February is going to be a killer month for Star Wars readers, man, everywhere.
Speaking of killer months, well, I do want to say very quickly, November is a pretty good month. Tomorrow, that Reith Silas little audiobook comes out. Just pops into the Audible feed. So that's by George Mann, who's becoming my favorite, one of my, pretty much.
Favorite. After Tears of the Name, he's up there in the top 3 authors right now in Star Wars, easily.
Especially my favorite author for Phase 3.
Without a doubt.
There you go. But on comics, let's get this here. Come out next week. Yeah, we don't have long to wait. That's why this is why we delayed this a week. It's not, but isn't that great? Republic Under Siege, #1, and they are going. There was some question about the numbering. It's pretty clear. It's Republic Under Siege #1. It's not Battle of Jakku #5. It's Republic Under Siege #1, and then High Republic Adventures #12. Afra, Chelly. I mean, even if it's a 1 second cliffhanger, give me Chelly. Even if I already know it's coming, give me Chelly. It might not. It might be something else. But come on, Chelly.
Maybe they're waiting for her to appear in this, and then they'll formally announce a new Dr. Aphra series. Now that the cat's out of the bag, be like, okay, now we can announce that this is the thing happening around this time. I don't know.
Yeah. That'd be fantastic. Just because that's what I mean. The reason we want her in these issues, is because we want to know more of her story. I mean, she's easily the most beloved comics original character, easily in Star Wars. Like, it's not close. And so, and most well built out. Unless you can call it Kiev and then the comics original character. Even then, she's up there. Interesting. High Republic Adventures, we're picking up on this story too, so it's good that we delayed talking about this until next week. So, but the continuation of who Adelhard's talking to, what's going on there. That's pretty clear what I'm looking forward to. Anything else you might be looking forward to in these 2 books?
From these 2 books, probably Republic Under Siege. I mean, it's going to be that Battle of Jakku every single time, because I'm just loving it so much, giving us the epicness that is Star Wars right after Empire Strikes Back. All of my favorite characters thrown in a mix. I'm just hoping that we see Han Solo pretty soon, because it was kind of like, right, we've seen him on a bunch of covers. We've seen him for like 1 or 2 panels in the first issue of Insurgency Rising. And we haven't had Han Solo in like 4 years in the comics, other than like his own series. So I'm like, all right, like, let's get Han back in here. I want to see more Han in comics. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
I mean, the whole era is called the Hansicle. No, I'm just kidding. That was a good joke. Good joke by Charles Soule there. That's true. Interesting to see Han. We have the Beth Revis book, Princess and the Scoundrel. That's kind of about it. I mean, we haven't Life Debt, but we
do have a lot of them in this era, I guess you could say.
But that was stuff that came out, a few years ago, and then 7 years ago, 8 years ago. So to get again a fresh reflection on what that time in what's it like to miss a whole 4 years of comics, to miss a whole 1 year of action. Here all week, guys. To miss all that and then suddenly come back. Again, I think we get I vaguely remember we get some of that in the Aftermath trilogy, but this is just immediately after. So yeah, that's a good point. There we go. All right, I think we did. I think we're at the 1 hour mark, not the 2 hour mark, the 1 hour mark. Thanks again, Chris, for coming on, for joining. This is issue 111 so issue 61 of what we've been doing. It's going strong. Gonna hit that 52nd week of comics in 2024.
Yeah,
I think. I mean, I don't know if anything's coming out New Year's. I'm gonna be away, so we'll figure it out. But there we go. I mean, another good episode. Where can we find you on the internet, both social media and what do you got going on the YouTube?
Yeah, on YouTube, I just recently streamed the third set for Star Wars Unlimited. I have a pack opening of the booster packs of that trading card game for Twilight of the Republic. So all of you Clone Wars prequelists out there, this is the video to watch. Some really awesome artwork. Separatist, Republic, Clone Troopers, Jedi, all sorts of fun, cool artwork that I was taking a look at while opening many packs. So that's on the channel right now. Other than that, I'm just on Twitter talking about video games and everything else at Star Raptor. And YouTube again is youtube.com/Star Raptor. We'll be going live on Outer Rim Transmission again this week. Last week we had a very good show, just me and Ben talking about the latest of Disney Star Wars coming out of D23 Brazil. We got some great announcements for Andor, but we also talk about Skeleton Crew and Simon Kinberg stuff. So it was a jam-packed show. So go ahead. We're going to probably be talking about maybe finally getting a chance to take a crack at the John Williams documentary that I've been chomping at the bit to talk about. But it's just been so busy with Star Wars news that we have had to put it on the back burner until a slow week. So this might be that week. But yeah, we'll be going live Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern over on my channel, Star Raptor. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Yeah, that John Williams thing, it's good.
Yeah.
I should rewatch it.
Yeah.
Kind of got lost in I'm in the midst of everything because the Skeleton Crew show, it's coming out in a few weeks. Who knew? You can follow us at Iron Cannon Pod, Twitter, Instagram, Threads. This past Monday, we got Joel and I at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Pacific, right here on the Underworld socials, Underworld YouTube and Facebook. We went Facebook then. RIP the Facebook page. Moment of silence. Twitch and Twitch. Talked about films. So we talked about the Kinberg news. We talked about a bunch of what else did we talk about? We talked about the films. We talked about ranking films, and we really got into the weeds about Star Wars saga films for the first time that in depth on these things that happen on the big screen, because we hadn't really done that, but we were talking about ranking.
Okay.
Why we rank one film over the other or whatever. So went into that, just what our rankings tell us and just the practice of rankings. Because it's on Cannon Pod, the way we do things, we say, okay, here's this fun nerdy thing, but let's dig deeper. Let's go do it. Let's go for 2 hours just talking about the thing that we're talking about. So there's that. This coming week, Monday, 8:30 p.m. Pacific, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Pacific, talking about the Jedi and are they relatable? And through stories. I think High Republic hopefully has a big. I'll make sure High Republic has a big showing in that, because in High Republic they sure are. So what does that mean? What does that mean for the fact that they may become less relatable over time? Is that another thing? So yeah, please do check that out, and also check out an exciting announcement I will be making off the top at the beginning of that episode. So stay tuned. Fun little announcement. Nothing too earth-shattering, but fun little announcement off the top of that episode. So check that out right here on Underworld YouTube, Twitch, and Iron Cannon Twitch. And hopefully maybe Facebook will get resolved. We'll see. Monday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Pacific. You can follow my personal Instagram at MNUG1138. I'm also on Threads at MNUG1138. And foodies, food lovers at beaches.foodie, Foodie. Got all my New York food up, so I gotta build up back more Toronto food, because I still eat here in Toronto. There, and my personal Twitter for now, NAUG485. I'm still on Twitter, but I might add I might add something else. But anyway, personal Twitter, NEUG485. Check that out. I'm not tweeting him. Probably tweeting a bunch of Taylor Swift because she's right here in town now, and I still don't have tickets. I'm not so happy with them all. Anyways, next up, go to your local comic book shop. Pick up these issues. Yes, they're on digital, but pick up these issues. Battle of Jakku, High Republic Under Siege #1, High Republic Adventures #12. Until then, happy reading.